Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan, joined by most valuable Pete, MVP. How are you, Pete?
I am great, Ethan. How are you?
I don't know. This nickname is really catching on for me. It's got a lot of legs, so I think we'll keep on using it because it's true. What we've heard in the news this week is due to the writer's strike and the actor's strike. It came as a stomach punch to us that Dune 2 is now going to be postponed from November, which we had circled on our diaries, until March 2024.
That's right.
Which seems like an eternity since we're in September now. And that made us, I guess, kind of look at what else is coming. First of all, nothing else is safe. If they're going to move Dune 2, basically everything is a candidate now for being pushed, right?
Absolutely.
Which is like the Marvels. I'm highly concerned that the Marvels is going to be pushed. Kraven the Hunter.
Kraven the Hunter's already been moved.
Oh, it has?
It got delayed a year. I believe it's now coming out next August. Next August or next October?
Marvels was supposed to come out in December, right?
I think November, but let's call it November/December. I don't exactly remember the date. The reality is that Marvels could get moved, and by all rights probably should get moved.
Yeah.
Will it get moved? I'm doubtful because at the moment, Disney in general, but the MCU in particular, is in a relatively dicey space. Their last few projects have not hit as hard as they'd like them to.
Secret Invasion.
Yeah, the TV stuff, almost none of it. And even the movies, right, have not been like super well received.
Nope.
They need that movie to hit on all cylinders. The question is, will delaying help that or not? I'm doubtful.
My sense is that it should be moved to December and kind of coincide with the Christmas, New Year's holiday, because I don't see anything in that space for any studio right now. Do you? What's the bellwether that's coming out in December? Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snake.
Aquaman and Wonka. Those are the two big ones.
Napoleon. None of those scream like, oh, we've got to see that. No one's excited to see Aquaman. Napoleon is niche at best. Hunger Games, I'm not even sure if this is a prequel or a sequel.
Let's take each of those one by one. And let's also clarify to everyone, if you haven't figured it out, this episode is going to be one of our patented rambles.
Patent pending.
And the reason is that, with the exception of Equalizer 3, this week has been relatively sparse, not just in terms of releases, but in terms of, I don't want to call it excitement, but there's been a general malaise in the industry. And I think a lot of that is because of the strike. The momentum that built up has kind of dropped off lately.
This is what I've got in my cinema. Equalizer 3.
Yep.
Retribution. Meg 2. Sympathy for the Devil, which is Nick Cage and Joel Kinnaman, which I've never even heard of.
Oh my God. How are you not leading off with that?
I mean, what is Sympathy for the Devil?
I don't know this one.
The Collective with Tyrese. Expendables 4. That is not a compelling lineup. I mean, Expendables, Equalizer, Retribution, and Meg 2. I mean, all these guys are old action heroes, right?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of recycling here. Kraven the Hunter, which I was excited about, is obviously delayed. Dune 2 is delayed. The Marvels, still not even close to coming out yet. I agree with you that there is a lot of malaise of what's at the box office right now, kind of because television has improved, but also just because there's been an absence of big ideas apart from Marvel and DC, right?
Let's talk about what's coming out. So Aquaman, not impressed, especially with the lack of success for Blue Beetle.
Oh, don't get me started.
The DCEU is going to end with a whimper instead of a bang.
Yeah.
And then we'll see how James Gunn, if and how James Gunn is able to salvage the DC universe now. What was the other one you talked about? Napoleon. Maestro's also coming out, which I am interested in. So Napoleon, I was not super bothered with Napoleon until we saw Oppenheimer. And the reason is that I hesitate to use the term superhero fatigue because it gets thrown around like crazy. I think the fatigue that the audience has is just bad movies. I think superhero movies are now a part of a proper genre. If the movie is good, it's irrelevant if it's a superhero movie or not. I don't think that all superhero movies, whether they're good or not, are suffering at the box office. That's why I think, when people say, oh, well, Blue Beetle is just the latest victim of superhero fatigue, I don't think so. I think it was just a bad movie.
It's a terrible movie.
Yeah. I have high hopes for Napoleon. I think that's going to do much better than I expected. I have no interest. I had absolutely no interest. But then with the success of Oppenheimer, with how good Oppenheimer was, I really think now there is potential for Napoleon. The same goes for Maestro, the Bradley Cooper movie.
Yeah.
As a biopic, Leonard Bernstein is someone who I know of but have no particular interest in one way or another. That could be interesting. And besides that, it's kind of a dull movie season.
Yeah. Though, to be fair and put it in perspective, the autumn period, back to school time, is always a little bit light. There's the summer blockbusters when all the kids are out of school, when everyone needs to go into the air conditioning, it's too hot to be outside all day. And then, of course, in the autumn time, kids are back in school. Everyone's kind of like ramping up in work and professional life. Generally, September, October are quiet times for films. And that's why there's always been like one or two diamonds in the rough, because someone's always said, this is an incredible film. It's a little bit niche. It's based on storytelling and not a lot of, big bang. And this is our period, to get noticed when we don't have so much kind of like blockbuster mainstream studio competition. We're not really seeing that though, right? Instead, we're getting the same old kind of like recycled Equalizer 3, Retribution. Retribution is just another Liam Neeson, daughter kidnapped, whatever story.
Of course.
Meg 2, right? I mean, Expendables 4. I mean,
I saw the Meg 2, by the way.
Tell me about it. Recap it. Hold on. The original Meg, which is a real thing, that happened because there was some type of earthquake and the ocean floor opened up. Is that right?
Something like that. And there was like a thermal layer that separated like the prehistoric time ocean to the modern day ocean.
Did they end up killing that Meg?
Honestly, I don't even remember because I saw the Meg 2 and they were like, well, we've got a Meg and she's our pet now.
Tell me about the plot of Meg 2.
Oh, it's so terrible. I mean, I watched it only because of the Films and Stuff podcast.
Look at that's why you're MVP. That's why you're MVP. Watching Meg 2 just because of Films and Stuff.
It was awful. I mean, like really bad. So the premise is now Jason Statham is like an eco warrior, Greenpeace with guns. He's working for this foundation with a billionaire who's trying to help save the ocean and prevent like dumping and all that. But of course, lo and behold, we learn that the billionaire is actually a bad guy who's trying to exploit the ocean and get rare earth minerals from the bottom of the seabed.
Okay.
And because no one has gone down below that thermal layer into the prehistoric ocean, like it's rife with like all these rare earth minerals.
Fun.
That's a secret substation there. And like she's got boxes and boxes and cartons with rare earth minerals worth billions of dollars down there. But she has to hide it from her own like do-good operation. They find it, and then it becomes like, well, we have to kill Jason Statham and his team because they found our secret operations.
Okay.
It's like an espionage story between themselves, and they've got megalodons. And instead of just the megalodons, there's also a kraken. Like there's this giant octopus there.
Oh,
yeah, it's just. And then they find out that there's a hole in that thermal layer of water. Megs and other creatures can go up into the regular ocean now. Okay. And they start attacking this like seaside resort. And then Jason Statham with a jet ski and 3 explosive harpoons kills 2 Megs.
Oh,
It's just insane. It's just insanity for the sake of insanity. I mean, like really awful, 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 awful.
I guess that's a skip.
Oh, yeah. It's I would have told you about it, but I didn't even want to bother.
Yeah, you didn't even
That's
tell
bad.
me.
That's how bad it was.
Should we continue talking about what's in cinema, or should we transition to, if we can't find anything good in the cinemas, what should we be watching on TV, or what are we watching on TV?
The last thing I'll just say about the cinema, I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw it. It was out, I think, earlier, but it just became available to me. Kandahar. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Oh, I did not see it. I saw The Covenant.
You're absolutely right, because it's a similar
Yeah.
premise. It's about rescuing a guy and
Yeah.
getting him out of the Middle East.
Yeah. Kandahar is Gerard Butler, right?
Yeah, it's the Gerard Butler one,
Yeah.
where he's an MI6 agent whose identity
Right.
gets leaked to the
Yeah.
terrorists. He was on loan to the CIA for a mission, and they have to kind of extract him and do whatever they can to extract him. It's fine. For me, it was a skip as well. I think it was a skip or maybe a mooch. Not worth your time. Covenant was far better.
Filmed entirely in Saudi Arabia. Did
Yes,
you know
that's
that?
right. It was one of the first few movies to do that. That's exactly right.
Yeah. I have to say, Gerard Butler, I really admire him for someone who seems to never shave, comb his hair, do anything even remotely healthy. And he has that role locked up, right?
He's built that niche for himself where, he's like
Yeah.
that slovenly, slobbish guy who's actually very good at his job, whatever that job is.
Yeah, totally right. Always has like a daughter, or a divorce, or something else, right?
Which, again, he had in this movie where he's got a
Yeah.
rocky marriage, but he has to make
Yeah.
it back to London in time for her graduation.
Hard to believe he was in 300. I should really watch 300 again.
Yeah, 300 was peak Gerard Butler. I think that was the
Yeah.
one where everyone was like, "Oh, who is this guy?"
Yeah. So that's the last thing you want to mention was Kandahar in cinemas. If there's nothing good in cinemas, we're being forced to television, to streaming then, right?
It's now the autumn season. So, the television series that we all know and love are starting to get back into gear. So, of course, Billions has restarted, a few other TV shows. I expect the last season of Yellowstone will kick off soon.
Oh yeah,
That
Taylor
kind of
Sheridan
thing.
universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go through a few things that I'm kind of watching.
Yeah.
You go through a few things you're watching, and let's see where we come out.
Okay.
Disney Plus, Ahsoka.
Yeah. I am on the fence on the show at the moment. I don't want to call it a must subscribe, but at the same time, I don't know if it's a mooch either. It's definitely not a skip, but I don't know how good it's going to be. I think it's going to be one of those ones where we have to watch the entire series to decide.
I agree. I mean, I definitely would not say, if I was just recommending it to a friend, I would not say that it's a must subscribe. I think we should really take our hat off to Disney, though. Disney has done a really good pivot. After totally bombing with, let's say, episodes 8 and 9 and with Solo, they've really kind of done some good inner reflection where they went to some type of like darkness retreat or something else, but they've really kind of gotten like their act together, and they've really decided to, do kind of like these lower stakes adjacents, right?
Yeah.
Which is Mandalorian, Bobalorian, Andor, Ahsoka. And Ahsoka, I think, is, again, as a standalone series, it's not must subscribe, but as part of the Star Wars verse, I think it tells a very good story. I think it introduces good characters. It obviously incorporates the same technology, terminology, lore, things like that. And for that reason, for a Star Wars fan, it's a must subscribe. For someone who's not really into the entire Star Wars universe and they're just looking at this as a standalone, it's probably not. It's probably a mooch, right?
That's probably the right way to approach the Star Wars IP at this stage, because it's, first of all, a very toxic fan base.
Us included.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. When I say toxic, I mean it's
Demanding.
hotly debated.
demanding.
Yeah, you're right. Demanding is the right word. That's the best way to say it. Maybe
Can't
not toxic,
please all the people all the time.
Exactly.
Fan base.
And the best way to avoid controversy is to say, hey, this is a story that exists in a universe that you have a lot of opinions of. It's not going to touch any of those characters that you're highly opinionated of. So we're not going to talk about Rey. We're not going to talk about Luke. We're not going to talk about C-3PO. We're not going to talk about Darth Vader. We're not going to talk about any of those characters you either really love or you really hate. We may refer to them because they exist in that universe, but that's it. And that way you can like the show, you can dislike the show, but you can't hate us for it.
Right, oh my friend, you hit that spot on. But now, as we like to zoom out, find Ahsoka on Disney Plus, and after you've got your Disney Plus subscription, what else are you watching on Disney Plus? Zero. Give me your number 2 show. Let's just say I finished my 3 episodes of Ahsoka. I've got the rest of my day. I woke up at 8 a.m. I watched an episode at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. on a Saturday or a Sunday. What do I do with the rest of my day with Disney Plus?
Watch the original Star Wars trilogy again? I don't know. There's nothing on there.
Yeah, that is the problem, right?
I think they painted themselves into a corner, which is Disney has focused themselves so heavily on Star Wars and the MCU that if you don't have an MCU show that you're watching or a Star Wars show that you're watching, you're kind of not bothered.
In theory, they're giving us an MCU show and a Disney show, one or the other, every 3 months, 2 each a year. I have to say, I don't feel like it's enough content. For someone who consumes content the way that we do, and I would say a normal person, really a normal person, family, career, social life, is looking to consume at least 2 to 3 hours of television a week.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
I'd say that's a minimum. I bet it's even higher, but I would say a minimum of 2 to 3 hours a week. If you're going to have 8 episodes of Ahsoka in 3 months, that's half an episode a week.
When you have a Star Wars show that's good, which by the way, not all of them have been good, or when you have an MCU show that's good, and again, not all of them have been good, at best, you're looking at 2 hours a week. And that was, remember, because Obi-Wan was overlapping with, I can't remember what, but there were 2 shows that were overlapping for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
At best, you're looking at 2 hours a week from Disney Plus. And then you've got for 4 to 6 weeks, maybe for 10 weeks, you've got a hiatus. There's no reason for you to go back to Disney Plus.
I would say at a minimum, what you would need to do, if you're going to have 8 episodes of Ahsoka, or 10, as soon as that ends and kind of a little bit of overlap, or maybe a week off, you've got to right away come back with an MCU show. And you've got to be advertising an MCU show heavily the last few weeks of Ahsoka. And then again, it should start immediately and lead into that one, and it should be nonstop. But the problem is, because shows or seasons now are only 8, maximum 10 episodes, but 8 is becoming the norm. When you're only getting 8 to 10 episodes, that's less than every 3 months. They're just not turning these out fast enough. And again, I would say like it's really hard to subscribe to something when you're only getting 1 hour of content a week, sometimes less.
I'll go one step further and say that I would almost be okay with that if every one of those shows were as good quality as Andor or like the first season of Mandalorian, for example.
Yeah.
But the problem is the shows have been so hit or miss. I mean, so incredibly hit or miss. I'm looking at the slate of the shows that we were excited for, or not excited for, but that we were on the lookout for.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the list. You tell me which of these shows are the ones that you desperately want to see. Okay?
Okay. Oh, I love this game.
Agatha, Coven of Chaos, The Acolyte, Ironheart, Echo, Loki Season 2, What If Season 2, Andor Season 2, which, by the way, I don't think is coming out this year, and then X-Men 97.
So yeah, X-Men, Andor, Loki. The others, to be honest, I don't even know what they are.
Yeah. So first of all, X-Men 97 animated show. So I don't even think you're going to stick around for that.
Nope.
So it's really just out of this entire list right now. It's just Andor and Loki. Andor, again, they're filming now. I don't think it's going to come out in 2023. I think it's going to be a 2024 show. Loki is meant to come out, ? I don't remember when. I think October. Fine. We're the first week of September now. You're telling me I have to wait at least 4 weeks, if not 6 weeks, to get to Loki? That's okay if Ahsoka is kicking ass, but at the moment, Ahsoka hasn't made itself a must subscribe. I'm not saying it's a must subscribe. I'm not saying it's a skip. That's not good enough. Like, it's hard to justify spending $10 a month on Disney Plus if that's what I'm getting.
I would take it even a step further. You and I, again, are not the norm. You and I would probably find it okay. We would spend the $10 a month for Ahsoka because that's who we are.
Yeah.
My brother, my 2 sisters, no way would they do that. 0% chance. I would wager quite a sum of money that not one of those 3 can tell us what Ahsoka is. They may guess it's a new fruit. They may guess it's a new Chinese car. Honestly, I bet if you'd really say, what is this? Someone would guess fruit, someone would guess car, someone would guess a software company before they would guess it's a Disney character. No way they're going to subscribe just for that.
What's crazy is that we've had Disney Plus for obviously quite some time now, but my sister was unaware of that. And as a promotion, as a phone line, we were given a few extra months of Disney Plus subscription. I think, it was like a perk, like 3 months of Disney Plus. She saw that. She was super excited because she was like, oh, everyone's been talking about it. I definitely want to see what's on there. She logged on and she was like, oh, there's nothing on here that appeals to me. And I don't have
I'm not a 17-year-old boy. Yeah.
I don't care about any of these shows. What is the big deal about Disney Plus? And again, you're absolutely right. Disney, you've already got the Ethans. You've already got the Petes.
Yeah.
You want to worry about the sisters and the mothers and the fathers and the brothers of Ethan and Pete. And if you can't convince them, you're not going to get anywhere.
It gets worse because Disney, the brand, is huge.
Yeah.
Right? And when you think of all the Disney movies, what Disney movie has come out where people are like, oh man, I want to watch Little Mermaid. What else is?
Elemental was the most recent.
Elemental. Like, you can't even say there's a big demand for like people's kids anymore, right?
I mean, there is, in the sense that there's a lot of back catalog stuff. And of course, there is still like other kids shows that you and I would obviously not know about.
We don't know
about
those.
The point is that you can only go so far targeting them. I mean, like, you need to target adults as well. This is a problem for Disney Plus, to be honest. I think they have to find a way to pivot. And I think this is why the Hulu merger is going to be all the more important to them, right? Because then you start getting a lot of value. So, for example, in the UK, the advantage to Disney Plus is that a lot of Hulu programming in the US is on Disney Plus because Hulu technically doesn't exist in the UK. Had my sister been more vigilant, she would have seen shows like The Bear, shows which will definitely appeal to her. But again, because the Disney marketing machine is so focused on Star Wars and MCU, she spent all of 5 minutes on the app, couldn't be bothered, and moved on.
Let's now do this. We've established Disney Plus, not really compelling, but you've got to subscribe to something. How does Amazon Prime sound to you?
Fine, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the list of shows.
Wheel of Time is restarting. That's the
so the first episode just launched. So
what
that
else?
Could be interesting. Theoretically, at some point, you're going to have, for me anyway, the season 2 of Reacher, which I'm looking forward to. You're going to have at some point The Boys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sticking around for Rings of Power. I'm not sticking around for Citadel.
We will, but...
No.
but not with enthusiasm. If you're an independent subscriber, I agree. You're not sticking around for those two.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I'm not looking at this as the lens of Pete and
Right.
Ethan. I'm looking at this as the lens of Ethan's brother, Ethan's sister, Pete's sister, or forget about it. Our neighbors, our friends, right? Our common friends. We can name 2 or 3 of our friends in Dubai, in London. We know them well enough to know that they're not going to sit. They're not subscribing to Amazon for any of these shows, with the exception of maybe The Boys.
For me, The Boys is even more niche because that is only appealing to superhero fans. And based on the graphicness of it, it's only appealing to kind of more mature, or maybe I should say intermediately mature.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
My dad, first of all, who's not a superhero fan, he may watch Avengers. He would not watch The Boys.
No way. And in fact, we wouldn't even dream of recommending it to your dad.
Yeah. I mean, that would create all sorts of awkwardness.
Yeah, that WhatsApp group is going to get awkward real quick.
My brother may watch Avengers. He may, I hope he doesn't, he may watch Blue Beetle. He would never, ever watch The Boys. Like, he would watch a half an episode.
And then he'd immediately turn it off. Exactly.
Yeah. I think The Boys, by the way, is amazing. So do you. And I'm sure that someone can say that there's some psychological assessment that can be done on that. But that show definitely does not appeal to everybody, even though it's fantastic. Yeah.
Again, that is not an indictment on your brother or to those people, but we recognize it's highly niche. It's highly niche in the sense that
it is an indictment.
Even within superhero fans, there's a limit as to how much gore and blood you want to see on screen.
You need a certain personality and sense of humor to get through that show.
Yeah.
The fact that we have it, we'll withhold judgment what that means, but we have it.
Yeah.
That's Amazon Prime. How about Apple TV Plus? Foundation is back.
So Foundation is back. I think it's almost done. There's like maybe one or two more.
You're not watching it though yet, right?
I'm not. I'm waiting for the 9th episode, and then I'll watch them all and then finish off the 10th with a bang.
You and I need to really then have like a deep chat about that. I loved the first season of Foundation. I just thought it was fantastic. The second season, I won't give spoilers, and I know this is still going to be a spoiler, but for whatever reason, the second season is not blowing my mind as much.
Look, I haven't seen any of it. I've seen the trailer. Yeah. I got the feeling that they did what all studios end up doing with sequels, which is they put more money into it and they focused on it being a little bit more action-y. That's my impression based on the trailer. I have no idea if that's the case or not. I think the first one was a little bit more focused on the sci-fi and the mystery of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I think the second one seems to be a little bit more cut and dry. Still sci-fi, but a lot more shooting, a lot more running and chasing. But that's to be determined.
I don't want to say that's true or not true. I guess anyone could view it differently, but the best part of the show should be the political intrigue.
Oh, yeah.
It's the politics with a sci-fi background that makes the show go. What else is on Apple TV Plus? You could say Invasion, now season 2. What do you think of that?
So I saw the first episode, and again, the problem with these shows, and I'm finding this to be true more and more for Apple TV programs.
Yeah.
If I just watch one episode, I don't find myself to be compelled. I saw the first episode and I was, for whatever reason, not super compelled. I find that it takes at least a couple episodes for me to kind of get into it. I saw the first episode. I was like, you know what? I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait for 4 or 5 more to drop, and then I'll start watching it again.
What did we think of season 1 of Invasion? I thought it was a mixed bag where we kind of liked the first few episodes, which was very action-based and like really an invasion-based. And then we didn't kind of like where it went. And I thought that it ended in a place where I wasn't like really, I can't really remember how season 1 ended, but I remember that I didn't feel like, oh man, I can't wait until season 2. I felt like, okay, like the story's done as far as I'm concerned, you know? And then I watched the first episode of season 2, and I think there's more than one episode out, right? I haven't felt I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I think they're 3 episodes in, or I think it's been 3 weeks. I'm not sure. The problem I had with the first season was too many stories from different people's perspectives. And the problem was 2 of those stories were just not interesting to me. I didn't really care about that little boy and
100%.
the generic Arab / Middle Eastern family. That didn't, I wasn't super sussed with her either. I really was keen on the Japanese story.
Oh, really?
That was the one that was the most interesting to me because they were the ones who were actually interacting with the satellites, with the aliens. They were trying to do stuff. That was the only one that was kind of interesting to me, and we didn't get to see too much of that. I'm reserving judgment. I thought it was fine, but I didn't think it was great, although it got good enough to get renewed for a second season.
Look, I mean, we vote with our remote control, so to speak. There's now 3 episodes, you're saying, of season 2 out. I've watched 1. The fact that I haven't watched 2 or 3 is the vote. It's just that simple. The same thing as I said with Crowded Room. I once, for our other streamer skip segment, I watched the Crowded Room. I watched 3 episodes. I said it's a mooch. It's definitely very decent. I haven't gone back to it yet. And more than our rating system, more than any words or anything else, that's the verdict, right?
Yeah. The question is, will you ever go back to it? If it's a no, it's a skip. If it's a yes, it's a mooch at best. If it's a I can't wait, then you understand that that's potentially a must subscribe.
So you know what? That's a very good system, because by that, I will never go back to Crowded Room. I will never say anything bad about it, but I know unless I'm really, really desperate at 3 a.m. and I cannot find anything else, I will not go back to Crowded Room.
Yeah.
That makes it kind of a skip. Invasion, I might 50-50 go back, but absolutely, I'm not bothered if I go back tonight or in 3 weeks. Ahsoka, I'm definitely going to go back. Foundation, I'm definitely going to go back. Lioness, which we have to talk about on Paramount Plus, I will definitely go back for the season finale.
Yeah, finale is this weekend. So
so let's watch the finale and then let's talk about that next week. But that's in the category where I will absolutely watch that as soon as it comes out. And again, that's if you're voting, that's the voting, right? Yeah. I will definitely watch that when it comes out. Ahsoka, yes. Foundation, yes. Invasion, Crowded Room, no.
There's 3 other shows on Apple TV that I'm interested in, but again, all of these, by the way, listeners, a big asterisk. We don't know if and when they're going to come out because of the writers and actors strike. So the second seasons of Severance, I am desperate for.
Really?
I thought the first season was absolutely brilliant. I know you got turned off on it.
Maybe I need
to. Yeah. But I thought it was phenomenal. I really thought it was fantastic. The 4th season of For All Mankind.
Oh, yes. No question there.
But again, I don't know anything about what's going on with that because of the strike. And, I haven't heard anything about it. And then, of course, Killers of the Flower Moon, which is the feature-length movie. Originally, they were going to do a limited cinematic release. It is now a widescreen cinematic release in October. And then I think after a week or 2 weeks, they'll move it to Apple TV. That I'm desperate to see as well.
Huh. Anything on Netflix that you're dying to see or want to see?
Okay, so here's the thing about Netflix. So they've got quite a few shows that are on my watch list that I haven't even started with or bothered with. So for example, the 3rd season of The Witcher, I haven't started it yet. I just finished The Lincoln Lawyer season 2. I loved it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We've got the final season of Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
The final season of The Umbrella Academy.
100% yes.
So both of those I'm excited for, but I haven't heard anything about. So that's to be determined. And those are the only ones that stand out. Now, there's still quite a few shows, obviously, on our list. I mean, I really like Somebody Feed Phil. I don't know what's going on with that. So there's still a lot coming on, but I don't know, again, the strike has kind of devastated the release schedules for a lot of these things.
Have you seen advertised on Netflix, Who is Aaron Carter?
Yes, isn't that a new release?
It is, and I have to say it looks okay from the previews. Like it's actually caught my attention and gotten me interested. What do you think of that?
I don't know anything about it. I think it was recommended to me on Netflix because I know that title, but I don't know what it is. I have no idea.
I have to say, based on just what I've seen, Netflix has caught my attention.
Okay.
And then what else? How do you feel about Painkiller? Painkiller is a big thing, although we saw something very similar on Apple TV Plus, right?
Yeah, so we saw the one with Michael Keaton, Dope Sick.
Yeah, yeah, Dope Sick.
Yeah.
Do you think it's strange that they have the same thing?
Not strange because so for one of our streamer skip assignments, I had to watch that show about that woman who's has an affair with her neighbor's husband and kills her neighbor, Candy. And I think Elizabeth Holmes is doing a remake of that, or if not Elizabeth Holmes.
Oh,
maybe,
really?
oh my God, what's her name? The Scarlet Witch.
Olsen.
Olsen. I believe that she was also doing that. So I think it could just be that the two were in production at the same time.
That's interesting.
So yeah, Painkiller also on my list,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen it yet.
Not terribly excited about it, but it's getting a lot of press. I mean, it's highly publicized on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one very old movie that I have watched recently. This is a 2016 movie called Infiltrator, and it stars Bryan Cranston. It's a super old blast from the past. Bryan Cranston, Diane Kruger. Did you ever see this?
Is this the one where he's working with Escobar?
Yeah, he's undercover.
Yeah, I have seen
agent. It. He goes undercover with Diane Kruger posing as his fiance, and he is like a Miami businessman, but he offers to launder money for the cartel.
Yeah, but he's actually an agent for some.
Yeah, he's
agency,
actually.
right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's DEA or FBI, but yes, he's actually an undercover agent.
I have seen.
And then they have a wedding, and they invite everybody, and they do the bust actually at the wedding.
At the wedding, and he's already married, and there was a lot of tension there. Yeah. I have seen this.
Yeah, and it's based on a true story. The reason I watched it is there was a bank called BCCI.
Yeah.
Which at the time, this took place, I guess, in the late 90s, early 90s. At the time, BCCI was the 7th largest private bank in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
And they actually served as the central bank to a lot of countries, particularly in the Middle East. I think they were originally Pakistani, but they had huge presences in a lot of developing countries. And BCCI apparently was the bank involved for a lot of the cartel money laundering.
That's exactly
and BCCI
right.
was also raided, and BCCI dissolved. It's insolvent, no longer exists. So I watched it because, particularly in the Middle East, a lot of legacy families, particularly from Southeast Asia, their parents or friends and family worked for BCCI. So BCCI still has like a pretty big brand recognition. In the US, it was kind of nothing, but in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, it was really a big deal. It was, bigger than Goldman Sachs, in Pakistan, probably India, definitely UAE, other places. That obviously had a huge impact, but apparently BCCI had the accounts for Escobar and a lot of other cartel members. And then, of course, allegedly, it was also used by, the CIA for some of their funny business as well. So that's why I watched The Infiltrator. It is a 2016 movie, so I mean, that's old. It's 7 years old. But again, it depicts events that happened in the 80s or 90s. So, when you've got something that's set in the past, those films generally stay relevant a little bit longer because you don't have, the same issues with, technology that becomes obscure or storylines that don't hold up anymore. It's obviously a little bit of a biopic. So I watched that recently just because, some of my friends had BCCI connections. So I thought that was a very solid performance by Bryan Cranston, right? Who always seems to pick really good roles and throws himself into them.
Absolutely. Finally, maybe we should also talk about Max.
Yeah. What's happening with Max, dude?
I mean, that's a great question, first of all. In terms of shows that I'm looking forward to, you've got The Penguin at some point.
Yeah.
Industry at some point.
Oh, yeah. New Industry.
Tokyo Vice at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And House of the Dragon at some point.
This takes us back to when we had our streamies at the end of 2022. We did this like January, February 2023, and we had, our awards for the best streaming platform. We've always been really complimentary to the content and the quality on Max, which at the time I think was HBO Max, and before that it was just HBO. The problem we've always said is that their technology is so shit and so inaccessible that it obscures the quality of the programming they have.
Yeah.
When you talk about that lineup, I mean, we've been for the last 10 minutes bashing Amazon Prime, rightfully, bashing Disney Plus, rightfully. And then you rattle off that lineup. I mean, whoa, that makes you sit back and take notice.
Yeah, they are at the moment the defending champions of the streaming for best platform. But
yeah,
I don't know if that's going to hold up this year. I have a sneaking suspicion it's not.
What do you think is our dark horse to knock them off their pedestal?
I think it's going to be Apple TV.
Bravo to Apple TV. I have to say, for a company that I never would have expected would not only make their own content, not only make high quality content, but make high quality content that doesn't rely on the Amazon cluster of overpaying for IP rights. I almost want to just give them an award for the most common sense rationality of any streaming platform,
Yeah.
Dollar for dollar, absolutely they're the best value. And I think show for show, there's very little, apart from the show Loot. Remember that one with Maya, I can't remember her name, from Saturday Night Live, from Bridesmaids.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Apart from that show, which is a disaster, I think everything that they've put out maybe hasn't always been our style, but I don't think they've made any other like gaffes or absolute misses.
I mean, and just in terms of, the comment we were making about Disney Plus, you and I together have watched 11 shows and movies, whereas as, you individually and me individually total, we've watched 23, which means that that's an average of 2 movie/TV programs a month. And that's reasonable. Like in terms of timing, that's a reasonable number.
Yeah. I'd be really interested to find out how much streaming content people consume. But I mean, there's a lot of other things competing for entertainment attention, but
yeah,
I'd really be surprised if the average was below 2.5 hours, 2 to 3 episodes. If they're 30-minute episodes, maybe if we do it by episodes, I would imagine the average is 3 episodes a week that a person watches.
Yeah. Like that's not a shocking number to me.
Some watch 6, some watch 1, but I'd be really surprised if the average was dramatically lower than 3.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm looking forward to a lot of these things that we've talked about. I mean, individually, it's really hard platform by platform, but when you look at collectively, all the platforms that we subscribe to, and we're definitely outliers because between us, we've got everything, including Paramount Plus and all the other stuff. There's some pretty good things coming up. The other wrinkle that we should mention is, it's kind of autumn sports season in the US. And in the UK, I guess in Europe, like British football is
the football season just kicked off. Yeah.
So I mean, that's also a time when people have something else to focus on. Another reason why there's not a lot of big releases in cinemas, because people generally have other football matches and stuff that they want to watch. So that's another attention grabber for people's time, and let's see how that plays out as well. But definitely, this is a time when cinemas are pretty light in terms of their content. Maybe professional sports will fill that void. Otherwise, it's left to streaming to do it. Okay, my friend, I'm looking forward to some of these things.
Indeed, as am I actually. Well, look, let's see. I think right now it's getting to the point now where we're starting to see real world effects of the 2 strikes.
Yeah.
That's going to have a knock-on effect, I think, for the next 6 to 12 months, and maybe even more, depending on if and when this strike gets resolved. Fingers crossed that the three sides are able to meet and figure it out.
Do it for us. Think of your good friends, Ethan and Pete, and Films and Stuff. Why would you delay Dune? Not nice.
I know. Zaslav, this is all on you.
All on you.
Any show, or if there's any movie coming up that you guys want to talk about, or if you want us to, be aware of, something we may have missed out on any one of those platforms, reach out to us. You can tweet at us at F&S Podcast. You can DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast. Email us, aloha at filmsandstuffpodcast.com. Or as always, leave a comment below this video, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell.
And don't forget, we are still in the market for a highly qualified, highly motivated, paid intern. So if you would like the job yourself, tell us why. If you've got a recommendation, we'd be happy to consider it. But that person can join the happy and growing team at Films and Stuff.
Yeah, email us. Let us know what you want to do for us. Let us know what you think you can do for us. We're always happy to talk to you.
That's right. Pete, once again, thank you for your time on this Ramble special of Films and Stuff, but we got a lot of stuff out, and I think that there's some good things we're looking forward to.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.